You want the camera? Robert Hodges.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I am going to mute everyone at this point, so that way it keeps it quiet. Here we go. Thank you all for coming. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Robert Hodges, Director of Academics and Operations, and we appreciate you all being here. And I'm just saying hi before I pass this off to Mr. Stark. And so everyone should be muted now. And so thank you all for coming. And here is Peter.
Well, I'm going to share my screen in just a moment, but we are hosting this meeting really for you guys to get to know me and to have an opportunity to ask questions. Of course, in these unusual times in which we are surviving, we're making lemonade out of lemons. Normally, this process would have involved you all more from the very beginning, but I couldn't be more delighted and honored to be here talking to you. But I'm going to start sharing my screen now because it'll be more fun to look at pictures of young dancers than my talking face. But now, hold on one sec. I have to make sure that my PowerPoint is open. Oh, it was not. Give me 1 second here. Let me open it. Then come back to you. And close this. 1 second, guys. And here's my PowerPoint. And just move it down so I can slideshow from the start. Okay, can everybody see this? You can. I see thumbs up from Taylor. Awesome, thank you. So of course, we're here to talk about the amazing Rock School for Dance Education that Bo and Stephanie created, and they're on the meeting, and I couldn't be more honored to be working with them and to carrying their amazing legacy forward into this new chapter. And I wanted to start by introducing myself, and I really identify most as a teacher, which is why I picked this photo of teaching, because like Bo and Stephanie, I have skills to do other things, as many dancers do. Dancers tend to be very inventive, and you'll discover that about your children. Once you learn to do one thing well, I do think it enables you to do many things well. But ballet is my passion, and that's where I'd like to begin and end this. I have been teaching actually for more than 20 years. I'll start with some pictures of some of my students, and then we'll evolve into some pictures of some of the amazing Rock School graduates. This is one of my students, Jeffrey Sirio. He is a principal dancer with English National Ballet. I have former students that I've trained that are leading dancers in American Ballet Theater, New York City Ballet, Pacific Northwest Ballet, San Francisco Ballet, Boston Ballet. In England, I have students in the Royal Ballet of England, Dutch National Ballet, Royal Swedish Ballet, Stuttgart Ballet, and many, many others, which is why, again, it's a good match for the Rock. This is another one of my students who won the Prix de Lausanne, second place, an audience favorite. I've reached that age where all of my friends are school directors and company directors. I'm an international judge. I'm actually heading out tomorrow to judge my third of 6 YAGPs this year, going to Kansas City tomorrow. During my tenure with Boston Ballet School, and I'll talk about my job history on this side of, on both sides of the studio, but Boston Ballet joined the Prix de Lausanne as a partner school, and I was very involved in that. The Ensemble International with the National Ballet of Canada. And I forgot what was the last one. Oh, and I've won many awards. So I've served on 3 grant panels for the National Endowment for the Arts in the city of Orlando. They actually have a Peter Stark Day that I'm very honored. I've won lots of YAGP Best Teachers and Best Schools in my various posts. As a dancer, I started my career with New York City Ballet under the direction of Peter Martins, moved on to Boston Ballet under the direction of Bruce Marks, danced with Washington Ballet as the leading dancer under Mary Day. And as I made the transition from dancing to teaching, being a tall guy, you do kind of get lucky. But I did a lot of gigs, including several PBS broadcasts with Placido Domingo. His wife was the director of Washington Opera at the time, and his wife directed a lot of operas, and she loved ballet. So I lucked into working with both of them quite a bit, which was really a tremendous honor. I'm going to just move this toolbar so I can see what I'm looking at. My first job post-dancing was as the director of the Orlando Ballet School. During my dancing career, I had a mentor named Fernanda Bajonas, and Fernanda just believed in me. And it really showed me that if one person believes in you, your whole life can change. I'm sure many of you in your own lives have had that experience in a variety of ways. And Fernanda just gave me a chance. I had been teaching at Maryland Youth Ballet, which was a very fine school that trained Julie Kent and Susan Jaffe and Cheryl Yeager. But I was, an hourly teacher, and he gave me the chance to run his school. He was the director of Orlando Ballet at the time. I was there for 10 years. We won multiple Youth America Grand Prix finals, best school, best teacher, Grand Prix winners, including this young gentleman here, Joseph Gorak, who's still a soloist with American Ballet Theater. The budget grew from 340,000 to over 2 million. We went from 1 to 4 locations. We added a second performing city in Tampa, and we grew the summer program tremendously. During that time, I was featured on the cover of Dance Teacher magazine. You can see the picture here. I look a lot younger. And then one of the satellites, as I mentioned, was in Tampa. And at some point, they approached me because they were paying quite a bit to Orlando Ballet for this partnership and said, hey, why don't you just come over here? And my contract expired with Orlando, and I did. So this was a picture of the school. It's a little blurry, but I'm very proud of it, that we were able to grow. I'm the founding director of Next Generation Ballet. My friend Philip Neal is currently the director. Again, we went to lots of YGP prizes. Then the budget grew to over 2 million. I also created a Nutcracker, which is Tampa's only professional Nutcracker, and it still generates over $500,000 in revenue annually. And once again, we grew the summer program, which is what we're trying to do right now, bring our summer program back. Here are some of my students from that point. Madeline Skelly is a principal with Estonia National Ballet, and Ezra Thompson is a soloist with Pacific Northwest Ballet. Ezra, it's one of my former students that I'm still in touch with, and he and his wife just had their first baby, which was really lovely to think of children, when they were 14 years old, trying to do a double tour, and now they're, fulfilled in their lives, married with kids. It's pretty special. My most recent job, I was the associate director and head of the men's program for Boston Ballet, associate director of Boston Ballet 2, and head of the men's program, meaning I ran Boston Ballet 2. The director of Boston Ballet oversees the whole organization. This is one of my students, Tyson Clark, who I'm very proud of because yesterday he was featured in the Boston Globe for Black History Month. But he's a dynamic young man. He won the Princess Grace Award. He's a rising star in Boston Ballet. He's named after Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. His name is Tyson Ali Clark. His dad wanted him to be a fighter, but he fell in love with ballet. What a great story. I was at Boston for 6.5 years. Boston Ballet 2 operates under Boston Ballet, so they perform with the main company and they also do their own works. I commissioned and worked with Christopher Wheeldon, Helen Pickett, Yorma Ullo. Of course, Bill Forsyth is the resident choreographer of Boston Ballet. So these are some of the biggest names in the dance world right now. I mounted works by George Balanchine, Petapa, Bournonville, Saint Leon. And I think that that's important. I taught my first class today at the Rock School officially outside of an audition. And I asked the kids, I said, what happened last week in the Olympics that never happened before? And the hands went up and they said, a girl landed a quad. I said, that's right. And at the next Olympics, I bet that whoever wins the gold medal won't win it without that quad. So our field keeps changing. what human beings can do keep changing, and we really need to stay on top of that. And as teachers, our job is to respond to that. So we're not dictating where the field is going. We're observing and preparing the children for that. And I do feel like my last job enabled me to do that well. I also taught the company class at least once a week, oftentimes more, in addition to the school. And in company class, of course, I was really fortunate to work with so many Rock graduates, including Mabinti DePrince and Derek Dunn and Lawrence Rhines. We have many. I have to get present. I'm a rocker now. Boston Ballet has many successful rock graduates. So the first question Bo asked me, because he's sharpest attack, was, why do you want this job? Which is a really good question. And I think that the Rock School has all the elements to continue to train the world's best dancers. You have already done so, and we'll talk about what those elements are. I'm ready for a new challenge. It excites me, things that are new and exciting. I often say to the students, what's new and exciting? That's one of my little catchphrases. And I think that this school is unique because it focuses on the individual. So many dance schools are actually limiting because there's a very set style, and then there's a company on top, and there's sort of one path forward. What Bo and Stephanie have created is a school that has many paths. And it's interesting working with Stephanie these past few weeks remotely. She embraces students from different ethnic backgrounds, different heights, different ages. In Europe, you start at 9 with a set physique, and and then everybody's the same. So it's the same starting point and the same ending point. And the Rock School has a real individual approach to looking at each human being and helping them forward to the best of their ability. So this is the mission of the Rock School. I don't think we have to read the whole thing, but I love the first sentence. Our mission is to train the whole dancer. So we see ourselves, and you'll hear me say this again, and you'll hear me say this through the years, not just as dance educators, but as teachers. We're raising children in our own way, and we take that responsibility very seriously. Uh-oh, what did I do? Oh, let me get rid of this. Sorry, something just came up. Some participants. So what's the history? How do I hold on, something just came up that's blocking me. I want it to go away. Go away. There, it went away. This organization was founded in 1963 by George Ballantine and Barbara Weisberger as the School of Pennsylvania Ballet. Bo and Stephanie came on, and then in 1986, they became the director and co-director, taking over the leadership of this school. And then in 1992, so now we're 30 years ago, something momentous happened. And Bo and Stephanie were audacious enough to think that they could have a school and that the students would be better served without having the company on top. Now that's a pretty strong thing to do at that time. But let me tell you, School of American Ballet is an independent organization. It's affiliated, but independent. Canada's National Ballet School is independent. When in America, schools are joined in as a department of a ballet company, what happens is the revenue from the tuition funds the performances. Now, it is symbiotic because the young dancers can look at for inspiration to the professionals, but you're struggling for funds. The Rock School's funds go to support the students. And this is why we can give over $1 million in scholarships annually through the variety of our programs. This is why we are running the preeminent outreach program, not only in Philadelphia, but in the country through our Rock Reach, which we'll also talk about. And then here we are 30 years later with a new chapter. And it's, again, very exciting for me and extremely overwhelming. The dance field is in change. So now we're going to some of the amazing Rock School graduates, which are part of your ballet family. You know, we're a ballet family, so as a member of the Rock School, this is part of your family. Here's Christine Shavenko. She was many, many accolades and prizes. She is a current star with American Ballet Theater. This is just a gorgeous picture of her. Come on. But our field is in change right now. This is a time, I would say, unlike any other in dance history that I can think of. And I actually even had to teach dance history during COVID when we did our summer of classes on Zoom. Margaret Tracy, the director of Boston Ballet School, said, "Can you teach dance history?" And like any dancer, I said, "Sure." But this is an unusual time. So we see new directors at New York City Ballet, School of American Ballet, San Francisco Ballet, National Ballet of Canada, American Ballet Theater School, Finnish National Ballet, English National Ballet, I already mentioned School of American Ballet, and the Rock School. So what does this mean? This means that what once was is not currently, and you as parents of young dancers need to stay really apprised in terms of what's happening, because everything is changing. And I think that the Rock School and Bo and Stephanie endorsed my coming on because of my experience in the field. Because there's so much change, there needs to be some sense of stability. And I've known Bo and Stephanie. They taught me a few years ago. I'm not going to say when. And we've sat and judged many YGPs together. But this organization is poised to deliver the same level of excellence through this transition. I'm hoping the others are as well, but as parents, I think you need to stay on top of that because everything's changing. Here's another amazing dancer, Derek Dunn. He's a principal dancer with New York City Ballet, with Boston Ballet, sorry. And when I would teach company class and Boston would go and Derek would go across the floor, I would just say, "Perfect." There was like, you can't correct Derek. Everything is literally perfect. And he's a delightful and humble young man. But I do want to talk about some of the strengths. Here's another amazing, remarkable dancer, Beck Ansisk, who is a star with Ballet West, and she's been on TV and many other things. Another fantastic picture. It looks like that's in the middle, somewhat elevated, I think, of Bill Forsyth Ballet. You have amazing faculty, you have amazing staff, and you have amazing volunteers. Leading the volunteers, of course, are the Board of Trustees. Here are some lovely young dancers with Caro and Bob Rock. Of course, the Rock family has been completely essential to the creation of the Rock School. They did many, many things, not the least of which acquired our building. I will tell you that Boston Ballet does not own its building. They pay rent for that space. They built it, but it was considered a capital improvement on the land, and now the land is so valuable they can't afford to buy it. The Rock School owns its building. How remarkable is that? We have an amazing, amazing team behind the scenes. And you're not going to remember all this, but I think it's important for me to tell you about it so you are aware of what happens behind closed doors when you drop your kid off for a dance class. We have Richard Clark as the Director of Advancement. Advancement oversees development and marketing, grants, individual donations. Blake, who's on this call, I saw him as our Advancement Associate. Elisa does a remarkable job with marketing and communications, and Kat is our awesome designer. So every time you see an ad, postcard, our website, Kat does that. She is a one-woman miracle. We have an amazing production and registration team. We are in need of a production director right now. Brian is leaving us. I'm putting this up here because, hey, you never know. Marketing, maybe you guys know somebody. Friday is Brian's last day. I've just met him. I know that he has kept the place running, and we will miss him terribly. If you know a good production person, let us know. Taylor, who's also on this call, is an amazing assistant. One of the other employees said to me, Taylor has her A game. I said, well, that's a good way to describe someone. Jenna, I've been working with very closely, who's done just such a remarkable job helping me to try to fill this summer program and get the communications out so beautifully. Elise, our registrar, does more than any registrar I've ever met in my life, and has so much information about the organization, its history, and is, well, let me say this, she's still there. She's still at the rock school as we're talking. Before everyone jumped on the call, I said, you should just set a cot up, for all the work that you do. Nicole, who I will introduce later, is our customer service manager who, knows everything about ballet and can help you through it. I've just met Ronald and Andre, who have hearts like gold, running our front door. You should certainly say hello to them. They're delightful people. Catherine, I haven't met, but she just sent me a big overview of all that she's done with the boutique, which is absolutely remarkable. And then Tara serves many purposes, DEI, but I'll also talk about her in just a second because she is amazing. In our education and business department, we have Robert, who you met, director of academics and operations. Michelle is our accounting manager, and I've really enjoyed working with her. She is just to the point, calm, and when you're dealing with money, which can be incredibly stressful, especially during this time, you need somebody that is calm and trustworthy, and she certainly is. Jeanette is a delight as our accountant. She couldn't have been more patient with me to try to get on that darn American Express card and walk me through it. And Jeanette's husband is an amazing artist, I found out. And when I looked at his website, there's this beautiful portrait, and I said, Jeanette, is that you? And she said, yes, it is. So if you're an art collector, you should check him out. Katie is our academics assistant, and we have really one of the finest academics programs of any ballet school that I'm aware of. And then Kim, our ESL instructor. And if you saw the last movie, The Eternals, sign language now is very important. It was a big part of that movie, which I think is great. Our student life and facilities people, we have Yenny, our resident director from the Dominican Republic. And I've been to the DR many times. My brother met his wife there. They're not Dominican, but they both served in the Peace Corps there for 4 years. So it's a beautiful, beautiful place if you haven't gotten to go, but she's going back home to be with family. So that's another open position we're going to have. If somebody knows someone who'd like to be our resident director. I will tell you, in Boston Ballet 2 this year, we have a lovely young woman who was renewed into Boston Ballet named Brooke Wilson. And Brooke said, Yenny is like my second mother. And when Brooke danced her first performance with Boston Ballet, Yenny flew from Philadelphia to Boston to see her dance. And it moved Brooke to tears. So that, it's raising kids. I mean, that's the love. Chef Tara is amazing, heart of gold, delicious food. It's all I can do to keep myself away from nibbling on that food, but she's absolutely remarkable. And then Richard, who does so much, because not only is he cleaning the whole building all by himself, he's also our prep cook, and is also there hours and hours and hours. So I think it's important to realize all the people that are there taking care of your amazing family members. Asya, I was unable to get an exact list. Our pianists have shrunken with COVID. COVID has been the great retirement of America, because a lot of people thought, you know what, I'm home, I like being home. But Asya runs an amazing team, and the majority of our classes at the Rock School are with live piano accompaniment. And folks, that is going away left and right in our field. But as artists, we move to live music. So the fact that we have live music really separates us from the pack and gives your young dancers an incredible advantage that they wouldn't otherwise have. And Nastia also, I'm not sure how long she's been with the Rock, but I know it's decades, and has done a remarkable job. So our facilities, we have this beautiful building. I will say that Carol Rock has jumped forward, and we are going to clean up some of these peeling signs. I know they're beautiful pictures, but they're starting to wear. So there will be some spiff up coming very soon in our near future, which I'm looking forward to, but it is a remarkable building. And of course, here are some inside shots of the costume shop and the cafeteria. We also have a Rock West satellite. I've really enjoyed working with Natasha out there. And I'm doing a whole separate presentation for them, but it's another really amazing asset. We can recruit. I've always put a picture of this student up, and especially talking to parents. This is one of my students. Her name is Aram Buggy. She is currently the most senior member of Paul Taylor and the only member of Paul Taylor, the last member of Paul's group before Paul died. She also just had a baby, but made a recovery, came back. Had a baby, I think, at 36 or 38, which for her first, which is quite unusual. But what I love about Aran's story, and I'll tell it very quickly, beautiful dancer, not the ballet body, struggled, didn't get a job, was rejected from Juilliard, rejected from SUNY Purchase, rejected from Indiana, got into Hart School, which is the University of Hartford. I thought, well, she'll be a teacher, she'll whatever. In school, got into modern, used her ballet training. When she graduated, went to an audition with 300 dancers and was chosen by Paul Taylor to join the company, the main company, not Taylor 2, and has been there, I think, 18 years or something. So it taught me to never underestimate when someone has drive, when someone has heart, when someone has the soul of an artist and a dancer, anything is possible. And she taught me that, because I at one point thought, well, she's a nice dancer, but it's not going to happen. I will never say that again. You never know. And that's why I always have to put a picture of Aran somewhere. But we can host foreign students, and we have a long-lasting commitment to student scholarships, which I mentioned. We have many programs. I've already mentioned a lot of these: Rock Reach, Rock West. We have our academics program, our professional division, and classes for everybody. Rock Reach, run by Christina Pastras, is a benchmark of arts education outreach nationally. It is the most expansive dance and movement community program in the region, and it's just celebrated its 20th birthday, 20 years of this. And I'm not going to read you all of these, statistics, but if you look at things in bold, 20,000 students, 40 schools, 100 hours of weekly instruction, 1,800 kids coming to the Nutcracker performance, 1,800. 27,000 kids in 2020, in the middle of COVID, saw their first virtual Nutcracker from across 9 states. I mean, folks, these are incredible statistics, absolutely remarkable. And we have a legacy of training stars. So here is Isaac and Esther Ben Hernandez, now both principals with San Francisco Ballet. Of course, they both have won many competitions, and then Isaac was a big star in Europe before he came back to San Francisco. Mabinti de Prince, Michaela has chosen to use her, professionally she's Michaela, but personally she's gone back to her African name Mabinti, and I was fortunate to teach her a lot of days. She had a little injury, so she was taking a lot of the BB2 classes, so I taught her for about 2 months almost every day. Remarkable, humble, incredible, talented young woman, trained at the Rock School. This is another one of my students, Lexi Chimoto. Lex won So You Think You Can Dance 2 years ago, I think, just before COVID. And again, Lex is a beautiful ballet dancer. We moved him into BB2. He said, I don't want to be a ballet dancer. I was devastated. I said, Lex, you will not have a career if you don't do ballet. And I was wrong. He won So You Think You Can Dance. He's all over the world. He's doing his thing, right? So, find your own dream. These are lessons that I've learned. But I want to continue the excellence. I want to offer diverse training. What does that mean? It means a lot of things. It means, that you can go to New York City Ballet. It means you can go to American Ballet Theater. It means we served 8 kids of different ages. It means that we prepare dancers for what companies are doing today, which continues to evolve at every interest and age. We have incredible performing opportunities, which I have spent actually the last 2 days starting to know. The Nutcracker 1776, YAGP, for those who are interested. I've been looking at some of the YAGP solos. I know that we have at least, I think, 45 doing the one next weekend, which I'm judging, which I'll have to be careful with that, yikes. But I know that there's even more. And, you know, Natasha's had a bunch from Rock West. I saw it because I judged the Boston, and there were some beautiful children from Rock West up in Boston. We have a spring showcase. These are my students only because I couldn't find a spring showcase picture quickly. But these are both dancers I trained, Nicolia, and that's Nations Behind, who are with Boston Ballet. But more information coming on the spring showcase very soon. We're in the process of trying to figure out how and when and where to make that happen. And it's on our minds, and we'll be getting that information to you very soon. We have a gala May 12th. And as you can see, this, you know, it's a wonderful celebration. And guess what, folks? It's going to be the best gala ever because we are honoring the remarkable Bojan Spazov at that gala. Yeah, so I should see lots of little applause reactions jumping up. And we have remarkable partnerships. So we have a partnership with the, they've come and gone based on the years. Stephanie told me that with the Philadelphia Orchestra, they did this incredible partnership with the West Side Story Suite. We've partnered with the Curtis Institute of Music. Curtis Institute of Music is, you know, along with Juilliard, one of the finest music organizations in America. You know, top. And of course, the Rock family is very involved in supporting the Curtis and the Rock, which is why we have this great collaboration with them. But that opens opportunities for our students in unique ways. And now we have our remarkable faculty. So of course, Stephanie is still on as our artistic director. Stephanie had a remarkable career with she trained at School of American Ballet like me, but danced with American Ballet Theater and San Francisco Ballet. And I'm only going fast because we have a lot of people to cover. Justin Allen, remarkable. He's a Rock School graduate. I've watched him teach both today and yesterday, and he teaches with clarity and compassion. He danced with Dayton Ballet and Ballet Theater of Maryland. Jody Anderson was a principal dancer with Kansas City Ballet. Telmo, our ballet master, was a dancer with Orlando Ballet. He has passion and he has ideas and energy and is a beautiful dancer. The gorgeous Natasha Ziegler, who just came in from San Francisco, was a soloist with the Bolshoi Ballet. And you know what Bolshoi means in Russian? Big, because it is the biggest company in the world, in the biggest theater in the world. And, you know, they say in New York, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Forget New York. If you can make it in the Bolshoi, which Natasha has done, you can make it anywhere. And she is an absolute a gem. I asked Laura for a picture, but you know, I didn't get one in time, so I apologize, Laura. Laura was a dancer with Michigan Ballet Theater, and guess what? She taught with the Boston Ballet School before joining the Rock team, so we share that in common. Gina Grace, I fortunately got to work with Gina these last several weekends as we're doing these audition tours. She teaches with clarity and compassion. She's been with the Rock School since 2000 and is very well trained in the Vagana Vassilides, which is a wonderful stepped methodology for younger dancers. Ava Sabo, I said, Ava, where are you from? She said, can't you tell? Hungary. And with her beautiful accent. She's also been with the Rock School. She told me, and I can't remember, but a very, very long time. She had a wonderful performing career in Hungary, and she also received a diploma in teaching dance there, which is very unique because not all dancers are actually trained as teachers the way she has been. And unfortunately, I'm just going to zip through some more because I don't want to keep you here to midnight, but William Burden, I saw him like through the window today. What a beautiful man teaching a lovely class. Jeffrey Hankinson, Chrissy, Catherine, Christina I mentioned. I also saw her teaching today in addition to running our Rock Reach program. And Yosbel Delgado. I don't know if Yosbel is on this call. I haven't met him yet, But one of my star dancers from Boston Ballet too, a young man named Henry Griffin, who's remarkable. He just got hired into Boston Ballet, was Yost Bell's student. And I thought, well, if he trained Henry, he knows what he's doing, because Henry is an incredible dancer. And I always like to say the proof is in the pudding, right? So these people know how to do it. So what's next? Our summer programs are next. Of course, I can't end this without a plug. We have our summer ballet intensive, ages 8 and up. You have to audition. It's not too late. We have our children's program, which meets 4 days a week, ages 7 to 11, and our early ballet classes, which are basically like a once a week class. You can do more than one if you want. They all run the same 6 weeks, so they're overlapped through these 6 weeks, which basically start June 27th and end August 1st. You can go on our website, but there's something for you there. I will say there's a very famous quote by Baryshnikov, and he said, for every day I take off, it takes 2 days to get back. So you want to dance through the summer. If you take 2 months off, it's going to take you 4 months to get back to where you were. And we want to keep that forward process. We are developing a muscle memory through repetition. So training through the summer is essential if you're wanting to move forward. How can you enroll? You can enroll as a commuter student. You can enroll as a resident student. The commuter students, of course, are dropped off and we take care of you. The resident students are housed either at Cabrini University or the Marine Club across the street. And of course, if you're Cabrini, you have meals there. We also have meals with Chef Tara in our cafeteria. Here's a beautiful picture of the cafeteria. I should get a picture of Chef Tara too, because she's beautiful and she does a remarkable job. She was there so early this morning. She's like, I'm here early every morning. And I don't doubt it. We have great activities which haven't been set yet. Actually, that's something Brian used to do. So gulp, we have to find somebody to do this. But kids have gone to Broadway shows. They've gone to the beach. They've gone on cruises. There's been all sorts of amusement parks, all sorts of fun things that are happening. But those are available for your students in addition to their summer program. So in conclusion, and then we'll open to questions, our mission is to educate the whole dancer. This is an experienced and committed team, top to bottom, that was created by Bo and Stephanie with love and compassion and expertise. And we have all of the resources to train your young dancers at the highest level. I am going to share Nicole, like in a minute, I'll go forward and I'll go back. Here's beautiful Nicole. But Nicole is our customer service, so she's a great person to know. You should, if you don't have this email, you should write it down. If you have a question about summer programs, if you just any question about the organization, she's the one to ask. She knows more than me, probably more than anybody at this point. She knows about ballet, she knows about training, she knows about the summer programs. So she's a wonderful, wonderful resource as our customer service manager. There's her picture. Here's some additional contacts in addition to Nicole. We have info at the Rock School, summer at the Rock School, academics at the Rock School if you're interested in academics. This summer, we're also hosting SAT prep classes. And you know, that can be important in addition to everything else. So if you're interested in that, and I might regret this, so please hope that I don't, but here's my email because I want to be available to you. And I know that these times are strange. And normally, you know, I would be able to say hello in the lobby. You probably wouldn't even recognize me because I would be like this, walking through the lobby. And if I have a hat, you don't even see anything. So this is my email. I do try to get to my emails as quickly as possible. Please be understanding. I am a little bit overwhelmed at this moment, but you can certainly email me with any questions or concerns that you have. And that's it. So I'm going to do, how do I end my share? Stop share. There we go. So now I've asked Robert to screen the questions, and I'll do my best. And if other team members want to jump in, if I can, or if you have something you want to add, team, please just unmute yourselves and jump in as you can. There's no chats. Go ahead and chat a question. You can just type it in. If you click on the bottom, the chat, most of you know how to do it.
Okay, how will conditioning and cross-training be incorporated into dance training?
So this is something interesting. This is something that was not traditionally part of our training and is something that has become increasingly prevalent. And it relates to what I was saying about that young woman, who unfortunately was so mishandled by her coaches, but nevertheless is a remarkable skater and completed the quad. That we have to, we're all in the process of rethinking how to get dancers ready for the field today. So this is something that I do hope to bring forward to the team. This is my second day on the job, but I do look forward to working with the team and looking at the schedule and how we can incorporate both stretch and conditioning in a professional way that supports our ballet training. So more to come on that, I would say.
Okay, should we assume we'll be at the Rock in Philly and not at Rock West for the summer? Or could students be at the other location?
That's a great question. For the summer ballet intensive, it is located at the Rock Center in downtown in our glorious studios.
Will we have partnering?
Yes, I watched a partnering class today. It was fabulous. I can't wait to teach one.
Any other questions? Oh, how about will we be incorporating physical therapy into the curriculum?
It's interesting. I don't know. That's an unusual question. We need to have physical therapists available to our dancers. So that's not part of the curriculum. You're not learning physical therapy, but we do need to have a resource of doctors. There have been a few things that have been unusual through COVID in terms of moving students around, in terms of restrictions. However, the school has a commitment to health. We actually have a beautiful physical therapy room that's completely set up. So that is a priority of mine. I will say that, I have several mentors, as most dancers in this field will say. There's not one teacher, it's like, and academically, you have a teacher in first grade and then you have somebody teach you calculus. It's not the same person, but both are equally valuable, right? But one of my mentors is Fernando Bajones, the director of Boston Ballet. And Fernando says there's three things that make a dancer: technique, artistry, and the ability to survive injuries, because you're going to get injured. It's part of it. Every athlete, every person who's involved in music gets injured. So we have to address that it's going to happen, and we have to take care of those children when that occurs.
Okay. Will there be any sort of nutritional advice or nutritional support for students?
This is also interesting. So what I would love to, and these are things that I feel like I can help to add. I would love to do regular teacher trainings, actually, to bring in doctors to talk about what happens to the body during puberty, to talk about nutrition. Fortunately, we have an amazing chef on team, but certainly nutrition is a big part. Now, I don't want you to misinterpret. I'm going to be very direct. That does not mean let's get thinner. Actually, I think some of the body norms are changing in dance, but certainly you can get healthier. The best example, my man, Tom Brady. I mean, I don't care if you're a Patriots fan. I don't care if you're a football fan. Tom Brady is remarkable to have been performing at the level he was at age 44 for so many years in such a physically demanding field. But let me tell you, that guy is disciplined. No alcohol, no sugar. I mean, he is disciplined. So nutrition can play a big part in what happens and how your body responds.
Okay, Peter, will you be teaching all levels or just certain specific levels during the summer intensive?
I'm going to try to get around as much as I can. I started that presentation with saying that I'm a teacher. I think Bo and I feel the same way, that our happy place is in the studio, but because we can do other things, it pulls you out. What I'm trying to do now is to set up the administrative team with the tools they have so that part of the machine can work as well as possible, which will allow me to be in the studio more. My goal is to be in the studio as much as possible. I certainly will get to every level. I do imagine that there will be some levels that will see more of me than others.
Okay, there's a few questions in here that are like, Nicole, you might be able to, for students that are registered, when do they find out which housing location they're assigned to?
Sure, yeah, I can answer that one. The vast majority of students will be staying at Cabrini College or Cabrini University, excuse me. The reason for that being that the Marine Club is where the school year students stay, and so there are a finite amount of beds there. So we partnered with Cabrini University several years ago, which is a traditional college campus and offers all of the amenities that go along with that for the vast majority of our summer program students. And so basically, unless you are a male dancer or a female dancer, I would say usually the cutoff there is around 16, 17, depending on enrollment, and enrolled in the highest levels. And for the 5 or 6 week session, that very small population of people is put at Marine Club. The rest of the dancers are at Cabrini University. So while your formal housing assignment will be issued closer to the start of the intensive, unless you are in that small bracket that I've just mentioned, you should reasonably assume that you'll be at Cabrini.
Okay, and for students that are going to be in the year round, when do we expect the info regarding residence and such to be available? And how much freedom do students have to leave the facility during the school year?
Okay, I think that this is a trickier question to answer, only because we are, still dealing with COVID. That some of this information, if you go to our residence tab on the website, some of that will be the same for year to year. So basically the amenities in the dorms, photos of the dorms, day-to-day activities, residence handbook, things like that. I don't know that that will change very much. You can also email me and either I can answer the questions or I can pass them off to Yenny, who is our residence director currently. With regard to the freedom that the dancers have in terms of leaving this facility, assuming, and this is obviously a very large assumption, that we are back to pre-pandemic standards, the parents are always have the ability to govern that. Outside of that, there are jurisdictions and just basically curfews that are instituted and implemented for everybody's safety. But again, that's something can also be a more one-on-one conversation with the resident staff as that time approaches.
Okay, Peter, what can you say about our contemporary dance?
I can't say a lot about our contemporary dance right now because I haven't seen what's going on. I know that it is a commitment to the Rock. I know that the Rock has won a lot of YAGPs, a lot of Prix de Lausanne's, and there's a huge contemporary component to that. I know working with Bill Forsyth and Yerma Ello and Helen Pickett that new choreographers expect incredible versatility and movement. So that is something that I'm going to be looking at in terms of how best to do that. I've had some one-on-one meetings with the team. I have to meet with a lot more people. And I'm hearing some of their thoughts on that, which I value greatly. More to come is the short answer.
Okay. We have, let's see, a few questions about the size of the program, the number of boys that will be there and class sizes.
Yeah, I saw the boy question. I actually haven't looked at that number right recently. I'm not exactly sure. When I did one of these early, I said, I want 60. I saw one of the teachers smile. Yeah, good luck on that. But I do think we'll have a healthy group of boys. We're having some really nice interest from young men and some really lovely talent from young men, which I'm very excited about. Right now, I think we have about 150 to 60 enrolled, and we will likely have about 260 enrolled when all is said and done. But remember, our program, because we're one of the few programs that allows different options. If we have 260 students, they are not there all at the same time because they're coming and going a bit. So class sizes are manageable and our studios are huge.
Okay.
Can I say something? Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
I just want to address the choreographic and the contemporary. We are very fortunate in our faculty because they are multi-talented, and some of the most beautiful ballets and contemporary pieces. Justin and Tomo and Jody. I mean, we have people that are trained to do that and have great talent to do it. So it's not been neglected, and a lot of the contemporary things have been awarded. So we can expand it, and right now with COVID, it's we're just doing what we're doing, but we have such talent in choreography, and teaching. Thank you.
And a question came up, will we have any sort of Pilates during the summer?
We're gonna look into that. Stephanie and I haven't really met and talked about the summer. We've been putting out other fires, if I can be perfectly honest, because it's been a big transition. And Stephanie has a lot to teach me. Again, that falls into, I would say, conditioning and stretch and Pilates. That you're looking at body conditioning is what I would sort of lump all of those things. And we haven't really gotten into the nitty gritty. Again, I think it's important. Even today when I taught, I was like, boys, 10 push-ups, go. Boys, 10 push-ups, go. So I believe in it. I think we haven't really had that conversation exactly how it's going to manifest at this moment.
And the question came up about emotional and social support and what we will be offering. And I know this is something I've been working on, trying to get us basically a therapist in so that the students can talk to, because this has been a very stressful 2 years now for many of the students. And I've seen it firsthand, what they've been going through. And this is something we are working on, and I'm going to continue seeing what we can find. I've been working with certain board members as well as just different connections to see what we can get. This is very important to me. This is something I'm not ignoring. Peter, I don't know if you have anything you want to add on your from your perspective.
When I judged the YAGP in Boston, one of the other judges, who's quite a Tony Award winning actress, is now actually working with Lion King and other shows because these performers are under such stress that people were unaware. We're like, okay, we're back, let's go, mask off, sing. And it's been incredibly stressful on performing artists because of the masks, because of what's happened to our field and our audiences, because of people getting COVID and then shutting things down. I mean, I can tell you the last 2 months in Boston have been an absolute nightmare trying to get any rehearsal done because this one has COVID, this one has a hurt foot, that one's roommate got COVID, and then they're knocked out for 5 days or 10 days, and those restrictions are changing. And it's been very, very, very stressful. So now actually even Broadway shows are hiring people to help their performers manage some of this stress. And I know young people are resilient, but it has been a hard time.
And we have a question. How does the Rock plan to support graduating year-round students with their search for companies?
So this is something that I have done well. First of all, I will tell you, my general advice is cast a huge net, because you're trying to find a match. It's like Dolly Livy, right? You're trying to find so you need someone to like you and to have a position for somebody like you. So for instance, somebody may say, you're a great artist, but I don't need a short dancer right at this moment. Boston's a good example. We now have Jeffrey Serio and Derek Dunn. So if the most remarkable short male dancer showed up, even if Miko liked them, he doesn't need a third male principal in that height range, right? He's got two that he's going to have to satisfy with the roles that are available. So it's tough. There is a really wonderful website, and I'm going to do two things at once here. Two of my former students, I'm always so impressed with my students. Actually, one of them did MBA at UPenn and then got a grant to create this website, and it's called the Ballet Scout. And it's an incredible website. So what it does is you can type in criteria of things that you're interested in, and then you can search that criteria by audition date, by size of company, by number of dancers, by type of rep. You can heart and then you can compare the ones that you're looking in. It's a great resource. So they just actually pitched me because they're trying to get the Rock School to be like one of their banner things, which I would love to do, but we got a lot of other things on the list right now. But at any rate, and it's a very small fee to join. It is, it's a business venture for these two young men. But it's a great resource. But I also have my own personal list that I've been carrying with me for many, many years, which has hundreds of companies that I print out on an Excel spreadsheet that has the company, the director, and then I sit down in the end of the year evaluation with a Sharpie and say, these are ones that I think could work for you. Based on what we know. For instance, we know that Ballet West tends to like taller dancers. Are there short dancers there? Yes, but it tends to be a tall company. So if we have a very tall girl, that's often a place we suggest they go. But as I said, what's challenging right now is everything is at ground zero. I didn't even mention Pittsburgh. I didn't even mention Cincinnati. Literally every company almost in the world right now has a new director. So everything's changing. So we're all kind of watching the field to see what's what. And it's hard. It's a hard time to look for a job, but we'll do our damnedest. I also encourage kids to apply to college dance programs. I will tell you that, I mentioned Brooke in BB2, the other star dancer we had in BB2, Kira Mutenlainen, was a graduate of IU. And I think we have 3 IU graduates. So kids that went to college, they graduated college at 22, then they joined Boston Ballet for 2 years. So they entered Boston Ballet at 24, 25, and they're doing great. Actually, one's from Juilliard too, Michael Stromail. So what used to be, once upon a time, oh, you're going to college, forget it, you're not going to dance professionally. That is no longer the case. There are excellent dance programs and dance conservatories, and that can be a great route for a young dancer. One of our dancers actually graduated college, not even a dance program, Kathleen Bream-Cones, went to an audition, joined Boston Ballet, went core soloist principal while she was dancing, got married, had a kid, and did her master's degree. She retired from dancing and got the job as the executive director at Festival Ballet in Providence. I mean, I'm like, not worthy, but it's possible, right? What is possible? So, you have to make your own path, but I also feel like college is definitely something to investigate for young dancers because there's so many great options out there now. Robert, I can't hear you, you're muted.
And that's the questions we have.
Great. Well, you have our contact. I'm honored to work with this remarkable team. I see so many beautiful faces of students that I hope that I get the opportunity to work with. And thank you for your trust. Those of you who are with us, thank you for thinking about us. Those of you who are thinking of joining us, and I look forward to the future. Good night, guys.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.